Welcome to Keeping Up with Our Community, a podcast for and about Romeo Community Schools. Each week, we will invite different guests to share insights about some unique aspects of our schools. This podcast is powered by the MIT TV of Romeo, Michigan. If you're looking to start a podcast for your business or personal use, look no further than MIT TV. Their in-studio podcast experience allows you to record perfect audio and capture amazing video. That's all right here at the MIT TV of Romeo, Michigan. Contact them now via email for a free consultation and schedule a visit at mit.tvpodcast@gmail.com. That's mitt.tvpodcast@gmail.com. Hello, my name is Marianne Brush, and I'm the Communications and Marketing Supervisor for Romeo Community Schools. It is my pleasure to introduce episode 27 of the Keeping Up with Our Community Schools podcast. Today's episode will focus on summer mental health and wellness strategies and will be hosted by Mary Selden, Director of Special Services. Our guests today are mental health professionals Ornella Shkreli, District School Psychologist, and Amanda Russell, School Social Worker at Romeo Middle School. I will now turn it over to Mrs. Selden to lead the discussion.
It is my pleasure to be hosting this episode of Keeping Up with Our Community Schools podcast. After reviewing feedback in our winter 2023 climate survey, parents asked for more resources on mental health, anxiety, and organization recommendations, as well as other wellness strategies. Our goal is to continue to create more resources on those topics and others to help students, parents, and staff in our community. As always, if you or someone you know is experiencing a mental health concern that impacts your daily life, please call your doctor. If you or someone you know is having thoughts of suicide, please dial 988 for free confidential help 24/7, or call 911 for emergency help. Ornella, Amanda, I'm so happy to have you here. Let's start off by talking about stress and anxiety. What is stress and anxiety? How are they the same? How are they different? What are some signs of stress and anxiety in students? Also, what can parents and students do over the summer to limit back-to-school anxiety?
Sure. Stress and anxiety sometimes can be confused for one another, but stress is a normal response to life's changes, pressures, and challenges, and it is a mind and body signal that helps you get ready for what's ahead. And generally, it is a response to external causes, such as meeting a deadline or arguing with a friend. And stress typically does go away once the situation is resolved. Stress can be positive or negative. For example, it may inspire you to meet a deadline, or negatively sometimes may cause lack of sleep. When we're talking about anxiety, this is a very common mental health problem. As many as 30% of youth experience elevated anxiety. And like stress is external, anxiety is generally internal, meaning it's your reaction to stress. It is intense feelings of being afraid, nervous, tense, or worried, and it is usually constant, even though there is no immediate threat. Since everyone feels scared, anxious, or worried sometimes, it's important to pay attention when the feelings, thoughts, and behaviors are very intense, go on too long, and get in the way of being able to do what you normally do. And it becomes a problem when it stops you from enjoying normal life and prevents you from doing things you would like or need to do.
Some of the signs to look out for are frequent or excessive worry about school, friends, following rules, or about getting the approval of teachers and parents. Although it may be normal for teens to be concerned about different parts of life, if you have excessive worry every day for 2 weeks or more, you may have anxiety. Avoidance of social activities or withdrawal from friends or not wanting to go to school is a common thing that we see in our adolescents and teenagers. Continually wanting to seek reassurance or approval from teachers, parents, or other adults in your life in doing different things. An inability to stop worry despite reassurance from school personnel or parents. Problem sleeping. This could be having a hard time falling asleep, waking up throughout the night, or waking up too early. When teens feel tired, either when they first wake up or throughout the day, they may not be sleeping properly. They may experience physical problems such as headaches, stomach aches, or tiredness with no physical medical cause. They may be irritable, have mood swings. They may use of alcohol, drugs, or self-harm to cope with those moods. Continually checking and rechecking schoolwork and grades or other chores to make sure that they have been done correctly are some of the signs to look out for.
So in schools, we talk a lot about the size of problems and what is and is not in our control. Children and teens often have a hard time determining the size of a problem, what is in their control, and matching their reaction or emotions to the problem situation or the size of the problem. Amanda and Ornella, what are some ways that families can work with their children to determine the size of a problem and also help regulate those emotions and their responses?
So a common thing that we use in school is called the circle of control. This can be found on the internet very easily. The circle of control is a concept that refers to things in your life that you have the power to change or influence, such as your thoughts, behaviors, reactions, actions. It is a way of thinking about your life and responsibilities that helps you to focus on what you can control and things that you can't, so that you can let go of those things. It is often represented with two circles, with the things that you have control over inside the inner circle and the things that you don't have any control over in the outer circle. Being able to understand and accept the things that may be out of our control is the first step to reducing the amount of stress and anxiety that is felt. Applying the circle of control in difficult situations helps both adults and kids focus on things that matter, such as their thoughts, goals, and how they respond to situations. Focusing on what you can control allows you to master yourself, which leads to increased happiness and success in life. It promotes a proactive mindset, which means that you make a conscious and repeated effort to improve yourself and ultimately improves your mental health.
And in addition to that, we also speak about matching emotions and reactions to the problem. So typically, if it's a big reaction to a small problem, that's considered an overreaction. And a small reaction to a big problem is considered an underreaction. And when we have gigantic reactions to small problems, it is unexpected and it may make people feel uncomfortable and drive them away. Similarly, when we have small reactions to big problems, it can be confusing and uncomfortable. So talking about matching the reaction to the size of the problem is important because it can help people manage their emotions, feel comfortable around others, and maintain healthy and safe relationships. This skill also helps navigate issues in a thoughtful and productive way. When you're talking to your kids and you're trying to figure out how you can help them with the size of the problem at home, there's some questions that are helpful in guiding that conversation. Some examples would be, how long will this problem impact my life? How many people will this impact? Is it potentially dangerous? Was this done to purposefully hurt or bother me? Can I solve this alone or will I need help? And depending on the size of the problem, the person should be able to determine if this is something they can solve on their own or if they will need more assistance. And this will help kids manage those emotions and reactions, hopefully, and get better at it. Another aspect is talking to kids and teaching them about coping skills. Coping skills are some ways that families can work with their children when it comes to helping them regulate their emotions and responses. Coping skills are tools and techniques that help people deal with stressful situations, difficult emotions, and decrease stress. They can help people face a situation, take action, and be flexible and persistent in solving problems. We can start with some unhealthy coping skills for children and teens. For children, you may notice some unhealthy coping skills if, for example, they're displaying verbal or physical aggression. They may look like yelling, ripping up books or toys, or pushing. Children may withdraw from friends and family, and this may look like the child is coping by suppressing or avoiding their emotions. And research has shown that this has a negative effect long term. Negative self-talk is another unhealthy coping skill that may lead to low self-esteem, self-doubt, and a sense of inadequacy. And when we're looking at older kids like teens, some unhealthy coping skills we see would be avoidance, so attempting to avoid stressful situations, misdirected anger by using rage or aggression to mask sadness or release other difficult emotions. Social media overuse, I think many parents can relate to, and a lot of times it's used to distract from those painful feelings. Substance abuse as a self-medication for anxiety, trauma, or depression. Self-harm as a way to release feelings of pain, tension, and anxiety. Or you may notice disordered eating. It's a form of self-control when teens feel out of control. And once you recognize that there may be some unhealthy coping skills, it would be good to model or teach the healthy coping skills. And what those may look like would be, there's a few different categories. The first category would be active coping strategies. These are healthy ways to deal with stress by directly addressing the problem instead of avoiding it. This may look like taking direct action to improve things by seeking more information, by changing the environment, or exercising to clear their heads. Another category would be relaxing coping strategies, which are healthy ways to calm our body and relax tense muscles. This may look like listening to calming music, deep breaths, reading a book or magazine, taking a bath, or spending time outside. Another category is creative coping strategies. This can be therapeutic and beneficial for recovery. It involves using negative emotions to create art, music, or writing. This may look like coloring, drawing, painting, writing poems, playing an instrument, or journaling their feelings. And another category would be social coping strategies, which reduces stress by seeking emotional or instrumental support from their community. This may look like calling a friend, FaceTiming relatives, or sharing feelings with someone you trust. And there's much more. These are just a few examples. Coping skills are very important because they build resiliency by teaching flexible thinking, learning and growing from failures, and building a positive support system. Very importantly, it encourages children and teens to regulate their emotions, their responses, and to problem solve on their own.
Thank you for reviewing all of those coping skill strategies. What can parents do at home to help their children when they're in a moment and they're dealing with stress and anxiety?
So the biggest thing that parents can do to support their children is to acknowledge their teens' fears and emotions. Don't dismiss it or ignore it. Taking their emotions seriously and be ready to listen. Don't meet them with too many questions. Let them talk, and you just sit and listen. Sometimes it can be best to ask if they want you to just listen or if they want your advice. They may just need to vent, need reassurance, or they would like you to kind of talk through and problem solve with them. Make sure that you make time to talk with your child every day without distractions. Encourage a healthy diet, physical activity, and good sleep habits. And reach out to your pediatrician or trusted mental health professional for additional support. School counselors can also be a very helpful resource.
Yes, definitely. In addition, I would add, the goal is not to eliminate anxiety, but to help your child manage it. It can be difficult to see our children struggle, but removing the stressor will not always help them long term. It is more helpful and productive to teach them how to manage and function with anxiety in hopes to decrease it over time. It's not recommended to avoid situations that make a child anxious. Even though they will feel better short term, it will continue to reinforce their anxieties long term. Instead, talk through their fears with them, and then encourage them that everything will be okay and that facing our fears will decrease anxiety over time. Very importantly, we can model healthy ways of managing stress and anxiety by example. Our children are always watching and learning from us. Any parent may recognize that just by simply telling children what to do is not very effective, but they definitely pick up on our habits and mannerism consciously or subconsciously. So modeling those healthy coping skills will definitely help.
I know as a parent, it can be incredibly difficult to watch your children struggle, but it's so important for that resiliency. And you don't always want to be that helicopter parent or that bulldozer parent, because these are all lessons that we're supporting them and teaching them to deal with anxiety. So they're going to be the most successful adults that they can be. And so I know as a parent of a 5, 8, and 9-year-old, but also a 21-year-old, I can see both sides of that. And those lessons now, make such a big difference later on in life for them to practice feeling anxious and using those coping skills. Okay, let's talk a little bit about resiliency. The Center of Developing Child at Harvard University states that one way to understand the development of resilience is to visualize a balanced scale or seesaw. Protective experiences and coping skills on one side counterbalance significant adversity on the other. Resilience is evident when a child's health and development tips towards positive outcomes, even when a heavy load of factors is stacked on the negative outcome side. The single most common factor for children who develop resilience is at least one stable and committed relationship with a supportive parent, caregiver, or other adult. These relationships provide the personalized responsiveness, scaffolding, and protection that buffer children from developmental disruption. They also build key capacities such as the ability to plan, monitor, and regulate behavior that enable children to respond adaptively to adversity and still thrive. This combination of supportive relationships, adaptive skill building, and positive experiences is the foundation of resilience. Research has identified a common set of factors that predispose children to positive outcomes in the face of significant adversity. Individuals who demonstrate resilience in response to one form of adversity may not necessarily do so in response to another. Yet when these positive influences are operating effectively, they stack the scale with positive weight and optimize resilience across multiple contexts. These counterbalancing factors include facilitating supportive adult-child relationships, building a sense of self-efficacy and perceived control, providing opportunities to strengthen adaptive skills and self-regulatory capacities, and mobilizing sources of positivity, faith, hope, and cultural and community traditions. Ornella and Amanda, what are some strategies that parents can use with their children to help build on their resiliency?
So the biggest thing is being a role model, practicing healthy coping skills. We always say kids are like sponges, and that's something that they don't really grow out of. So good or bad, kids watch and learn how to cope from the adults that are around them. Teaching new coping strategies when everyone is calm. It's difficult to learn new things when we're upset and stressed out because our thinking brain isn't processing right at that time. So avoid introducing a new coping skill in the middle of a meltdown or a stressful situation. Trying a lot of different coping skills. Every coping strategy is different and isn't going to work the same for every person. And what works today may not work tomorrow. Building coping skills into your daily routine. If practicing coping skills becomes a habit or a part of kids' everyday lives, they are more likely to use them without even realizing it. So like with my kids, like we build in like a calm down time, like, hey, let's disconnect for 10, 15 minutes and just take a break. And then like naming emotions. Hey, I see you're getting frustrated. So like maybe we should like walk away from that right now.
Definitely. Resiliency is very, very important, and resiliency can be learned. Being resilient does not mean that children will not experience difficulty or distress. Resiliency gives us the ability to adapt well to adversity, trauma, threats, or significant sources of stress. It is very difficult to avoid stress in our lives. We all know that it's going to happen. It's going to come at different points in our lives. So building that resiliency will definitely be helpful at each point of our lives. Some ways that we can teach our kids to do this is by teaching them to make connections. And that's by teaching our kids and our teens the importance of engaging and connecting with their peers, including skills of empathy and listening to others. Another way to build resiliency would be to help your child by having them help others. Children who may feel helpless can feel very empowered by helping others. Engage your child in age-appropriate volunteer work, or even ask for their assistance with tasks that they can master and help you out at home. Making a daily routine is very important. Sticking to a routine can be comforting for children, especially younger children who crave structure in their lives. Teaching your child basic self-care. This may look like teaching your child to make time for eating properly, exercising, and getting sufficient sleep. And lastly, but there's definitely way more, accepting change. Change can be scary for children and teens, but helping your child see that change is a part of life and changes can bring many new opportunities of growth and new goals will help them build that resiliency to look forward instead of looking back.
So during the summer, I know that can be a very anxious time for some students. A lot of kids are very excited to come back to school, to see their friends, to catch up on what everyone's been doing over the summer. However, that's not true for all students. I know for my kiddos, it's best for me if we practice, 2 or 3 weeks in advance. Okay, what time do we need to get up for school? What is our routine going to be? Setting your clothes out, deciding if you're buying or bringing lunch, that type of thing. So we practice, sometimes we even drive by so they can go play on the playground or see the school again and be more acclimated. Have you ever had any experience helping students with returning to school anxiety, and what would you recommend for them?
Well, with my own kids, I have one of my kids who was particularly anxious about starting the school year, and we would, like you mentioned, drive around, and we would go to the school multiple times and play in the playground. And I would just give a lot of opportunities for them to ask questions, let them feel comfortable to ask any and all questions. And I would calmly try to explain because I think he was just trying to look for expectations of what was coming in the following year. And I would always just reiterate those expectations and just explain what to expect when starting school. And playing on the playground helped. Also trying to get together with kids of the same age so that they get used to that social aspect of playing with those peers as well.
Mm-hmm. Those are all great things. In addition to hyping up the fact school is going to be starting, you're going to make a lot of new friends and you're going to have specials or, these electives, and this is what this is going to look like, and talking very positively about school and what to expect. They'll feed off of that excitement.
I agree. I think the more prepared and positive the adults are, the more responsive the children usually are. So getting the school supplies early, having the backpack ready, having your class schedule, knowing what teacher you're getting, talking about all of those things. Even my kids, they want to know who's picking me up. Am I getting picked up right after school? Am I going to SAC? Is it going to be you? Is it going to be dad? All those little things help squash any anxiety that might be there. And they like that routine. And a lot of times we even use the same phrases over and over again, or we do the same goodbye routine with certain hugs and kisses, by the door. So I know that's been incredibly helpful for my own kiddos. All right. Thank you for being here today. We are incredibly grateful to MIT and Romeo Community Schools for helping us share this information. We will have additional mental health and wellness podcasts about once per month during the school year and during the summer. Amanda and Ornella, thank you for being here and sharing your knowledge.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank you all as well, Mary for hosting, and a special thank you to Ornella and Amanda for sharing these mental health and wellness strategies and helping our families get ready for the start of the school year. Be sure to tune in next week as our summer series continues. Thank you for joining us, and tune in next week to keep up with Romeo Community Schools. This podcast is powered by the MIT TV of Romeo, Michigan. If you're looking to start a podcast for your business or personal use, look no further than MIT TV. Their in-studio podcast experience allows you to record perfect audio and capture amazing video. That's all right here at the MIT TV of Romeo, Michigan. Contact them now via email for a free consultation and schedule a visit at mit.tvpodcast@gmail.com. That's mitt.tvpodcast@gmail.com.